My father warned me. His father before him. You never enter Omu River when she's singing. I tried to bargain, offered her gold, chickens, even silence, but she had already chosen. She wants the bloodline, not the tribute. Tell the boy never to swim there.
Everyone in Umualechi knew the river Omu was not just water. It was a boundary between the seen and the unseen, between the living and something else. They said the river remembered everyone who crossed it with disrespect. The elders called it a living shrine. Children never played near it. Pregnant women didn't fetch from it. And as for young men, they were warned, especially during the full moon. But Ikenna never listened. He was 17, strong-willed, and cursed with the arrogance of beauty. Girls flocked around him. Old women whispered that his grandfather, Panwachukwu, had once made a vow to the river goddess on behalf of the family, but died before fulfilling it. His mother never spoke of it. She only tightened her wrapper and muttered, "Some doors should never be reopened." That night, Ikenna was walking home after an argument with his friends. They had dared him to prove his manhood. "Enter the river! Swim across! You're not a child, are you?" The moon hung fat and full, casting a silver path across the black water. The trees around the river bent unnaturally, as if eavesdropping, and the wind was oddly warm, humming like it carried a secret. Ikenna stood on the bank, chest heaving, pride wrestling with fear. He looked back. No one was there. Just him, and the water, and something else watching. He stepped in. The water touched his waist, cool but oddly thick, like it held memory. He took a breath, dove under, and swam. For a moment, it felt freeing, peaceful even. But halfway across, something brushed his leg. He jerked, turned, nothing. Then, hands, soft hands, cold, wrapping around his waist. He shot up from the water, gasping, but there was no one, just ripples. He swam back to shore, trembling. Behind him, just beneath the surface, two glowing blue eyes watched. She smiled. He had entered. That was enough. She had seen him now, marked him. He was hers. That night, sleep became a battlefield. Ikenna lay on his bamboo mat, tossing, drenched in sweat, though the room was cool. The oil lamp flickered strangely, its flame bending sideways like it was trying to run. Outside, the crickets were quiet, too quiet. The only sound was the far-off whisper of the river. And then, he saw her. In the dream, he stood at the same riverbank, but the moon was red, not silver. The water bubbled, and she rose. The mermaid, her skin was like polished bronze, her eyes two glowing sapphires. Her hair flowed as if underwater, even in the air. She wore beads that shimmered like stars, and her voice, it didn't speak. It entered him. "You came into my water, Ikenna. Now I am in your blood," he screamed. He woke up shouting, heart racing, breath caught in his throat. His mother burst into the room, wrapper hurriedly tied, face full of fear. "What is it? Did you go near that river?" she demanded. He couldn't speak. He looked down. His palms were wet, but not from sweat, from river water. Real river water. His mother slapped her thigh. "I told you. I warned you, Ikenna." She rushed to the wooden shelf and brought out a tiny calabash wrapped in red thread. "Go and call Papa Ejime first thing in the morning. Only he can handle this. The water has taken notice." But Ikenna was still staring at his wet hands. In the mirror across the room, his reflection looked wrong. His eyes were darker, deeper, as if someone else was peering from inside him. And in his ears, a voice whispered once again, "You belong to me now." By dawn, the village was stirring, but Ikenna and his mother were already halfway through the dusty path to Papa Ejime's shrine. The old native doctor lived on the outskirts, where the trees grew too close and birds never chirped. His compound was marked by feathers, broken calabashes, and the thick smell of something burnt long ago. Ikenna kept glancing back. It felt like someone was following. No footsteps, just a presence, a weight in the air. When they arrived, Papa Ejime was sitting cross-legged in front of his hut, eyes closed, chewing bitter cola slowly like a man who already knew they were coming. "Ikenna," he said without opening his eyes, "you entered her water." Ikenna's knees buckled. His mother dropped to the ground, begging, "Baba, help us. My son didn't know. He's only a child." Papa Ejime opened his eyes, cold, sunken, and dry. "Then the river will teach him what children must learn." "I'll pay you," she said quickly. I'll bring yam, goats, anything you ask." The old man stood up slowly and walked toward Ikenna, then paused. His eyes shifted, from Ikenna's face to something behind him, something no one else could see. "No," he whispered, stepping back. "She has marked him deep. I cannot interfere." "Why? You fought water spirits before," the mother shouted. The old man's expression turned bitter. "And lost everything. My son, my sight in one eye, my peace. That mermaid, she's not just water. She is Olyaku, the forgotten daughter of the undersea king. She takes, she binds, and she waits. When she chooses a man, he belongs to her until death, and even then, she may not let go." Ikenna's voice was barely a whisper. "So what do I do?" Papa Ejime looked at him long and hard. Then, with a cracked voice, he said, "You run. You resist her. But know this. Every time you touch water, she will touch you back. Every time you close your eyes, she'll be there. And when you fall in love, she will come for her revenge." Days passed, but Ikenna was no longer himself. He stopped hanging out with his friends. He avoided the river like it held fire. Even bathing became a struggle. He used buckets, not knowing if a drop too many would summon her again. His eyes were hollow, his smile forced. But something kept him grounded. Her name was Adora. She was the new girl in the village, sent from the city to stay with her aunt for the school holidays. Adora was calm, beautiful, and soft-spoken, the kind of girl who didn't chase boys or seek attention. But she noticed Ikenna. She saw something no one else did. Not just fear, but suffering. A silent drowning. One evening, she found him sitting alone beneath the giant Udala tree near the village square, staring blankly at the sky. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said gently, sitting beside him. He looked up, startled. Then for the first time in weeks, he chuckled softly. He chuckled, "I have." Adora smiled. "Then talk to me about it. Ghosts don't scare me." Her words stirred something deep inside him, like fresh air in a suffocating room. Ikenna wanted to speak. He needed to. But just as he opened his mouth, a drop of water landed on his arm. He looked up. No clouds, no rain. Adora didn't feel it, only him. The next drop landed on his neck. Cold, unnatural. Then another, then another. Suddenly, Ikenna's nose began to bleed. Adora gasped, "You're bleeding, are you okay?" He stumbled to his feet, dizzy. The wind roared through the tree branches like a scream. He wiped his face, but the blood wasn't just red. It shimmered faintly, like the river. "I have to go," he said, breathless, backing away. Adora reached for him. "Ikenna, wait." But it was too late. That night, Olyaku would visit again. And this time, she would not come alone. That night, the air was heavy like it carried an omen. Ikenna tried not to sleep, but exhaustion betrayed him. The moment his eyes shut, he was back in the dream world, but this time, it wasn't at the riverbank. He stood in a strange underwater palace lit by blue flames. The walls shimmered like fish scales, jewels dripped from the ceilings like raindrops, and at the center sat Olyaku, her tail coiled like a serpent, her face unreadable. But she wasn't alone. In a shallow pool beside her floated Adora, unconscious, dressed in white, her wrists bound by strands of glowing seaweed. Ikenna cried out and ran toward her. Olyaku rose, her hair whipping like angry waves. "You let her touch what is mine," she said, her voice echoing like thunder underwater. "She's just a friend," Ikenna shouted. "You lie." With a flick of her finger, the pool turned red. Adora vanished beneath the surface, choking. Ikenna screamed. He woke up gasping, body soaked in sweat and blood. Real blood. His bedsheet was stained across his chest. His mother burst into the room again, and when she saw it, she whispered in terror, "It has begun." The next morning, Ikenna rushed to Adora's aunt's house. "She's not here," the aunt said, frowning. "She didn't come home last night." Panic slammed into his chest. He sprinted to the Udala tree, to the schoolyard, to the stream. No sign of her. Then something caught his eye, at the base of the Udala tree where they had last sat together. A strand of wet seaweed. No rain had fallen, and they were far from any river. He picked it up, trembling. As he did, a small voice whispered behind him, "Let her go, or I will take her forever." Ikenna spun around. No one was there, but the river was watching. That evening, as the sun set over Umolechi, a thick fog rolled in, low, wet, and wrong. Not harmattan, not rain mist. This was something older. Elders locked their doors early. Even dogs whimpered and hid. Ikenna hadn't seen Adora all day. Her aunt was now panicking, saying she was going to call the police. But Ikenna knew deep in his bones, this wasn't a normal disappearance. He stood at the riverbank again, the same place where it had all begun. the same place Papa Ejime told him never to return to, but he had no choice now. "I know you can hear me," he shouted into the mist. "Bring her back." No answer, only a ripple across the surface, then stillness. Then footsteps from behind him. He turned, but no one was there. The air turned ice cold. Then across the river, a figure stepped out of the water. Not into it, out of it, a woman, dripping. Skin pale like bone, her hair clung to her face like seaweed. But her eyes were Adora's. He staggered backward. "Adora?" The figure tilted her head, but didn't speak. Then her eyes turned black, and in a voice layered with two different tones, Adora's and Olyaku's, she said, "You didn't come when I called. Now I wear her face." Suddenly, she lunged across the water. Not walking, not flying, gliding, like water chasing a drop of blood. Ejime turned and ran, heart pounding, legs trembling, breath short, but the fog chased him like a living thing, hissing in his ears. Just as he reached the village square, he crashed into Papa Ejime, who had been waiting, holding a burning calabash and muttering incantations. "You fool," the old man growled. "She is no longer playing. She's hunting." "Take this," Papa Ejime ordered, thrusting the smoking calabash into Ejime's chest. The smell was sharp, sour, and strangely metallic, like burning salt and old blood. "When she comes again, break it at your feet. It will hold her for a moment." "A moment?" Ejime asked, shaking. Papa Ejime grabbed his shoulder, eyes burning. "That's all you need to speak the name." "What name?" The old man hesitated. "The name she lost when she was cursed. The name that chained her to the underworld. If you can call her by it, she must listen." "But how do I find it?" The old man sighed, voice low. "Go back to where you first dreamed of her. Go alone. Go tonight." Ejime stared at him, wide-eyed. "I'll die if I see her again." "No," Papa Ejime said. "You'll die if you don't." That night, Ejime returned alone to the Udala tree. It stood still, ancient and heavy with secrets, the place where he first spoke to Adora, the place where his blood had dripped. He knelt, closed his eyes, and whispered a prayer, not to God, but to whatever force might be listening. The wind blew, leaves rustled, then laughter, low, wet, feminine. "I told you, Ejime, you opened a door." He opened his eyes. The world around him had changed. The tree glowed faintly. The stars were gone. The ground beneath him wasn't earth. It was water, frozen solid but rippling beneath his knees. Before him stood Olyaku, no longer wearing Adora's face. She was herself now, terrible, beautiful, and inhuman. "I'll give her back," she said, smiling with shark-like teeth. "But first, a trade." "What do you want?" Ejime asked. She leaned close, her voice like water in his ear. "Your memory of her, every smile, every touch, every moment. If you forget her completely, I'll let her go. But if you refuse, she drowns forever." His heart shattered. Could he save Adora by erasing her? The calabash shook in his hand, and for the first time, Ejime realized this wasn't just a haunting. It was war. Ejime gripped the calabash tighter. The smoke swirled faster now, as though it could sense the weight of his thoughts. Olyaku circled him slowly, her movement like a serpent's, fluid, hypnotic, deadly. Her eyes were locked on his soul. "Let me make it easy," she whispered. "You won't remember the pain of losing her. No heartbreak. No ache, no guilt. Just peace." "I don't want peace," Ejime replied, his voice breaking. "I want her." She stopped in front of him, inches away. "You're a fool," she said softly, "but a beautiful one." He trembled. The ground beneath him rippled again. A new image appeared on the watery floor, a memory. Adora laughing beneath the Udala tree, her hand resting gently on his, her smile warm and real. Ejime's knees weakened. Olyaku waved her hand, the image distorted. "I can take it all," she said, like it never existed. No pain, no love, just emptiness. "No," Ejime whispered, "I'll find another way." He smashed the calabash at his feet. The explosion wasn't fire, it was light, blinding, white hot. A scream tore through the air, not from Ejime, not from Olyaku, but from somewhere deep in the river's womb. Olyaku reeled back, her body flashing between woman and serpent, beauty and monster. "You dare use that on me?" she hissed, voice now layered with the cries of 1,000 drowned souls. "You said I belonged to you," Ejime said, standing. "But you've never owned my heart." She lunged. The world shifted. Suddenly, he was back beneath the real Udala tree. On the ground beside him, Adora, soaked, barely breathing, but alive. He carried her through the village, ignoring stares and whispers. Papa Ejime was waiting, pouring chalk around his shrine in tight circles. "She's alive," Ejime gasped. I got her back." The old man didn't look relieved. "Then you only delayed the storm." "What do you mean?" "She's marked you deeper now," Papa Ejime said quietly. "You embarrassed her, hurt her pride. She will come again, but next time she won't ask." Adora stirred weakly in Ikena's arms. "I don't care," he said. "Whatever happens, I'll fight." The old man looked up. "You better, because next time she'll come in daylight." By morning, the village of Umuelechi was buzzing. News had spread like wildfire. Adora, the missing girl, had returned, alive, wet, but strangely unharmed. The elders called it a miracle. Some said it was witchcraft. A few whispered the boy was cursed, but no one said it out loud. Ikena sat quietly beside Adora in her aunt's house. She was wrapped in blankets, eyes distant, voice low. She remembered very little, only flashes of cold water, strange music, and eyes like mirrors. But when Ikena held her hand, she didn't pull away. "Something's still with me," she whispered. "I know," Ikena replied. Before he could say more, the chickens outside began to screech, violently. Not the ordinary noise of hunger or fighting. This was fear. And then, silence, too quiet. Ikena rushed outside. In the center of the compound stood a young woman, unfamiliar, soaking wet, dressed in red, smiling, too still, too perfect. She blinked once, slowly, then whispered, "I said I would come in daylight." Ikena's heart dropped. It was Olyaku, but no longer in spirit. She had crossed over. "You broke the calabash," she said, circling him slowly, water dripping from her feet but never forming puddles. "You chose memory over mercy. Now I choose wrath over reason." The sky dimmed slightly, though the sun still hung above. Adora screamed from inside the hut. Olyaku paused, tilting her head. "You still hold her hand? After I gave you every chance?" Ikena stood in front of the doorway. "You can't take her again." Olyaku smiled, revealing teeth too sharp for any human. "Then I'll take something else." She raised her hand, and every pot of water in the compound shattered. At that moment, Papa Ejime arrived again, this time barefoot, holding a strange gourd wrapped in green leaves. He didn't shout. He didn't chant. He simply walked up to Olyaku and whispered something no one heard. For a moment, she flinched. For a second, she faded. But then, she roared. A sound that shook trees and made goats collapse. "You brought him here?" she screamed at Ikena. "Fine. If I can't take her, I'll curse the land beneath your feet." She vanished in a wave of wind and steam. Everything fell silent again, except for Papa Ejime's last warning. "She's broken the rules now. From here, nothing is sacred. Not daylight, not land, not blood." The skies changed that evening. Clouds rolled in unnaturally fast, swirling with a blue-black hue that made the birds flee and the goats tremble. Rain began to fall, but it wasn't normal rain. It was warm, sticky, smelling faintly of the river. Every drop whispered. Every drop carried her name. The village of Umuelechi fell into chaos. Children cried without reason. Pregnant women wailed in pain. The elders, those who remembered the stories from long ago, began tying red cloth to their doors and placing charcoal in every corner. "She's not just angry," one elder whispered, shaking. "She's insulted." Ikena sat in Papa Ejime's shrine, his knees bloody from kneeling too long. The native doctor worked silently, grinding dried snail shells and muttering incantations under his breath. "She has broken covenant," Papa Ejime said finally. "No spirit was ever permitted to walk freely during the sun's watch, but she has tasted power again, and she won't stop." "So how do we end it?" Ikena asked, voice raw. The old man's hands trembled slightly. "We don't." Suddenly, a loud scream pierced the air, sharp and close. Ikena rushed outside, barefoot, heart pounding. In the center of the village square stood a man, Obi, the butcher. His eyes rolled back, arms flailing wildly as if drowning in dry air. He clawed at his throat, choking, though no one was touching him. A pool of water appeared beneath his feet, spreading fast. Before anyone could help, he collapsed, dead. Everyone froze, and then they saw it, etched on his chest in perfect circular lines, a spiral of riverweed, as if branded by a wet finger. "She has begun," Papa Ejime said, arriving beside Ikena, one soul at a time. Ikena fell to his knees, grief crashing over him. He hadn't even known Obi well, but this wasn't about friendship anymore. It was about guilt. All of it led back to him. Papa Ejime placed a hand on his shoulder. "She'll kill 10 more to punish one." Ikena looked up. "Then she's going to have to face me. Fully." The old man frowned. "There's only one way for that to happen." "Tell me, you'll need to go where no man survives," Papa Ejime whispered. "To the deep part of Omu, the Forbidden Bend, where the water sings backwards. Ejime stood, eyes burning. Then that's where I'll go. The Forbidden Bend was more myth than place. Elders called it Umumiri, the place of drowned souls, a stretch of the Omu River where boats capsized without wind and even birds refused to fly overhead. It was said to be where Olyaku was first banished by her own kind, trapped between life and death, beauty and beast. No one went there, but Ejime had no choice. Armed with nothing but a gourd of crushed turtle shell, a piece of Adora's hair, and a protective charm, Papa Ejime reluctantly placed around his neck, he began his walk just before dusk. The sky, though dry, seemed to hold its breath. The closer he got, the quieter the world became. No rustling, no crickets, not even frogs. The trees here leaned inward like guards. The river had turned black, not muddy, black, like oil, like ink, like a void. And then the singing began. It wasn't a song with words. It was a sound that danced behind your ears, that made your spine itch, that called not to your body but to your memories. Ejime dropped to his knees at the riverbank. The Forbidden Bend lay before him, a wide, open pool that swirled gently, though nothing moved it. The air above it shimmered like heat, but it was cold, freezing. He dipped the gourd into the water and whispered Adora's name. Then, from the center of the bend, the water rose. A pillar of it, shaped like a woman. She had no face, no limbs, just form. But she spoke. "Boy of broken oaths, you come again." "I come for her," Ejime said, voice steady despite the fear curling in his gut, the water being rippled. "You love her more than life?" "Yes." "Then prove it." Suddenly the earth behind him cracked. 3 water spirits rose, smaller than Olyaku, but more twisted. Their faces were frozen in drowning expressions. Their bodies slithered like snakes. "You must pass their test," the faceless voice said. "Each will show you a truth. If you run, you lose her. If you lie, you lose yourself. If you fail, you drown." Ejime nodded. Whatever it took, he would face it, even if it killed him. The first spirit stepped forward. Its body was lean and dripping, its mouth impossibly wide, stretching from ear to ear, filled with sharp, jagged teeth. It made no sound as it moved, but every step it took stained the earth black. Its hollow eye socket stared into Ejime's soul. It stopped a few feet away, and then it spoke. But the voice wasn't its own, it was Adora's. "Do you really know who I am, Ejime?" He froze. The spirit's head tilted. From the air around them, memories began to shimmer, images floating like glass. Adora laughing with another boy back in the city. Adora hiding a letter. Adora wiping tears when no one watched. "She never told you the whole truth," the spirit said. "She came to this village to escape shame. Her parents sent her away. She was pregnant once. She lost it. She hides pain like others hide jewelry." Ejime's heart twisted. Could it be true? The spirit took another step. Its mouth grew wider. "Say it. Admit it. If you knew all of this, you wouldn't have fought for her. You're only fighting for the version you invented." Ejime clenched his fists. He remembered how Adora held his hand even while trembling, how she cried but still smiled, how she asked him, "Do I scare you?" and he had said, "No." He looked the spirit in the face and whispered, "She never had to be perfect. She only had to be real. And she still is." A gust of wind tore through the trees. The spirit shrieked. Its body began to melt, steam rising from its twisted mouth. The test was passed, but the forest did not cheer. It only grew darker. Behind him, the second spirit slithered forward. This one had no eyes, only a smooth, weeping face and a voice that sounded like water dripping from a cave. "Now let's see how strong your truth really is." The second spirit moved without sound. Its skin was like stretched leather, pale, wet, and cracked in places. Its face was smooth and eyeless, yet it turned toward Ejime with terrifying accuracy, as if it could see directly into his bones. Its body dragged behind it, like a wet cloth in slow motion, trailing ripples on the earth where no water had touched. "You speak of truth," the spirit gurgled, "then face yours." Suddenly, the trees vanished. The river, the sky, even the air dissolved into blackness. Ejime was alone, but not in the normal sense. He was in a space where time felt broken, where even his breathing echoed too loudly. Then he heard it, sobbing. Not his, Adora's. He turned. She was there, chained to a stone, eyes shut, screaming his name. But the spirit appeared beside her, now. "You'll never reach her," it said coldly, "because deep inside, you believe you will fail. Let your fear rise now. Let it devour you." The chains tightened. Adora's cries grew louder. Ekena ran forward, but the space stretched endlessly like a nightmare where the ground never ends. With each step, he grew weaker. The spirit's voice rang again. You are small, you are weak, you are nothing. Turn back or drown in the shame of failure. He dropped to his knees. Was this how it ended? Then he remembered something. Not a spell, not a charm, a moment. When Adora had looked him in the eye and whispered, "You make me feel safe," his fingers gripped the dirtless ground. He stood and shouted into the void, "Fear is not stronger than love." The chains around Adora shattered. The spirit screamed, an awful, guttural sound that cracked the silence. And then it vanished. Suddenly, Ekena was back at the riverbank, kneeling, gasping. The first two spirits were gone. Only one remained now, the largest, a monstrous figure of water and bone, its form constantly shifting, as if made from every soul it had ever devoured. Papa Ejime had warned him, the last test is never spiritual, it is blood. Ekena rose slowly. He was ready. The third and final spirit rose like a storm. Its body wasn't just water. It was layered with fragments of human bone, rusted iron bangles, broken calabashes, and a dozen weeping faces molded into its form. It had no feet, no hands, only tendrils of mist that slithered like snakes. And when it opened its mouth, blood poured out instead of words. Ekena felt his chest tighten. This one wasn't here to test him. It was here to consume him. The faceless voice from earlier whispered once more across the wind. You cannot pass this spirit unless you sacrifice the one thing you were never willing to give up. What is it? Ekena shouted. Tell me. The spirit surged forward, and the ground beneath him split. From it rose a vision, not of Adora, of his father. A man Ekena had never known. A man his mother refused to speak of. A man whose absence had shaped every part of Ekena's heart. You have his anger, the spirit gurgled. You have his blood. The same blood that cursed your line to begin with. You think this is all about the mermaid? It started long before you. Ekena stared at the ghostly vision of his father. The man's eyes were identical to his own, full of rage, full of regret, and something else, guilt. Then the spirit continued. Your father swam in Omu, not once, but twice. The first time for love, the second for power. Ekena's breath caught. This is not just your curse, it is your inheritance. The world darkened, his knees shook. Was he bound to repeat the same path? Was he always destined for this pain? Then he looked at his hand, still holding the strand of Adora's hair, still grounded in this moment, not the past. No, he said aloud, I am not him. I will not be him. The spirit howled and lunged. Ekena bit his own thumb, letting his blood drip into the black river water. I reject the curse, he said, and I break its chain. The river exploded with light. The spirit burst apart, its faces screaming in every direction before vanishing into vapor. The wind stopped, the forest stilled, and in the center of the river now stood Olyaku, no longer monstrous, no longer seductive, just sad. You gave what your father never could, she said. You let go of pride. Ekena didn't reply. He didn't need to. The sun rose slowly over Umulechi that morning, but something had shifted. The sky looked clearer, yes, but the land itself felt hollow, like the ground was holding its breath. At the Forbidden Bend, the trees no longer leaned inward. The black water had returned to its natural state. The strange warmth in the air was gone, and so was Olyaku. Ekena sat at the edge of the riverbank, legs dangling just above the water. His thumb was still bleeding faintly, the charm around his neck now dull and lifeless. He had passed the tests, faced the spirits, broken the cycle his father had left behind, but he didn't feel like a hero. He felt emptied. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. Ekena, he turned slowly. Adora. No chains, no trance, no ghostly glow, just Adora, real, whole, alive. She sat beside him, their shoulders touching lightly. I dreamed you were screaming, she whispered. I probably was, he said. There was silence between them, but not the kind that hurts, the kind that heals. Adora looked at the river and asked, Is it over? Ekena didn't answer at first. Then he nodded. She's gone. But deep down, he knew the truth. Spirits never truly leave. They retreat, they wait, they whisper. But what she had taken, he could not get back. Not the memory of his father, not the vision of the spirits, not the haunting echo of what could have been had he chosen fear instead of love. He stood and offered Adora his hand. Let's go home. She smiled and took it. As they walked away from the Forbidden Bend, the river rippled behind them, once, then stilled. Forever? No, But for now, the river was silent, but it remembered.